race to fame as a hero cop on the big screen, Paul Walker played adorable on TV.
But they want a little boy. And I'm a little boy. And me and Scotty are special.
Yeah, you're special, right?
His mom had him doing a few kind of child modeling, little gigs here and there. He was never super passionate about acting as a young guy, but it's something he just kind of fell into very naturally.
The son of a model and a sewer contractor, Walker was the oldest of 4 kids in a working-class Mormon home in Sunland, California.
They were just your pretty typical normal family, but very loving, very close-knit.
There he is, there.
Amber Leah was a childhood friend of Walker's.
Yeah.
Most of his friends would typically call him Pollywog. He had a contagious spirit. He was always smiling. His just effervescent personality was electric.
At 13 years old, that electric personality landed Paul a string of roles in popular 90s sitcoms like Who's the Boss?
Yeah, well, high school's no picnic either.
And Charles in Charge.
She just wanted to carry my books.
But for this quintessential California kid, acting took a backseat.
Paul Walker grew up in San Fernando Valley, and he loved surfing from a young age. He's always been fascinated by the ocean. Later, he became really into Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he was an athlete, he was a sportsman, and he loved the outdoors. And yeah, he had the blue eyes, the blonde hair, and the California surfer accent.
How could you not love surfing looking like he looked?
Right? I mean, I think for a lot of people, he became a prototypical California heartthrob.
A California heartthrob with a thing for cars.
I remember when I got a Jetta, a Volkswagen Jetta, my senior year, and he saw my car and he said, "Oh, you know that." I'm not one who swears, but he said, "Oh, that car is bitchin'," you know, which kind of caught me off guard. But he was almost as excited about it as I was, even though I was the one who got to drive it.
I don't think there's probably anything he couldn't have done.
Walker played junior varsity football at Village Christian High School. Dean Lagasse was his coach.
I remember him playing his junior year because we weren't particularly good that particular year, but he was playing safety. Yeah. And looking back, I've coached a lot of games, but I will tell you that he had one of the 2 best hits I've ever seen in a JV football game.
Really?
Yeah. And we got clocked in the game, and we got beat like 40-0 or something like that, but he wasn't quitting.
Off the field, he kept his classmates entertained.
I would say he would be closer to a class clown than laid back.
Really?
Yeah. You know, he had a great sense of humor, and he had the smile, and so it was, I think people appreciated his sense of humor.
By the time he graduated from high school, Walker's good looks and charm landed him a role on The Young and the Restless.
I'm telling you, Ryan, you better back off and leave the kid alone.
Talk a little bit about the Paul Walker of his teenage years, because I mean, he said, I smoked bowls and kind of panhandled, and I kind of lived the transient life for a long time. I didn't really know where I was going or what I was doing.
He might have liked couch surfing here and there, and he liked traveling and going to surf for a few days and driving out into the wilderness. He spent 16 years basically living out of a suitcase.
When money got tight, Walker went back to acting on TV's Touched by an Angel.
Jonathan, head up. That's it, that's great.
And on the big screen in Pleasantville.
What's all the commotion?
He played Skip Martin, this all-American, cheeseburger and cherry Coke loving basketball jock. And he was squeaky clean and a super funny role in this morality satire. He's kind of the boy corrupted or enlightened by Reese Witherspoon. He made a big impression in that movie.
The movie was a hit, and finally a decent payday for Walker. That same year, some news he wasn't expecting.
When Paul found out that his girlfriend at the time was pregnant, I think it rocked him. He went to a Christian school, and he didn't like the idea of having a child out of wedlock, and it scared him. And he also knew that he was a wild guy. He said, I was sleeping with her friends at the time, and it did not seem like a good idea to be married.
With Walker focused on his Playboy lifestyle, his daughter Meadow lived full-time with her mother in Hawaii. But having a daughter, Walker said, was a life changer. He buckled down and got serious.
I had a dream that we were beating Bangville 14-3.
And I think everyone started really paying attention to him when he was in Varsity Blues.
he was a supporting character that you really remembered. In Varsity Blues, he played a football quarterback who's sidelined by a knee injury, and it was a role that actually had a lot of heart in a kind of goofy movie.
But Walker craved a meteor role. He auditioned for the thriller The Skulls.
Paul came in, and, you know, at first, he was like a surfer dude.
Rob Cohen was directing.
The first reading, it was more like he was, hey, man, I got tubed, and it was gnarly, right? And then I said, look, just say the lines, finish the endings on the sentence, the words, and just do it like a guy with an education. Because this kid would have gone to prep school and all that stuff. So Paul did it again, and he nailed it. I mean, he was like really could do it. And I thought, this young guy is so full of light, you know, he just came out of his eyes.
How they know everything we do. They know every place we go.
When we got to work on the Skulls, then I saw he really can act. You know, he's not just a presence. He was pushing emotions out and playing conflict.
That performance convinced Cohen to develop a movie for Walker. He had Paul at hello.
I said, well, you're an undercover cop who goes underground to bust up this world.
Walker was in, and Cohen never looked back.
We shook hands that night, and no matter what other forces tried to dislodge that agreement, I stuck to my guns, and Paul became Brian O'Connor.
Damn, that guy's fast.
Coming up, Walker becomes a bona fide movie star, but proves to be much more.
Well, that's the fruits of our labor yesterday, making the scramble to Port-au-Prince, and the timing was impeccable.